In the heart of East Africa, where the horizon stretches endlessly, lies the majestic Serengeti, one of the last great natural wonders of our planet. A vast, untamed land shaped by wind, fire, and time, where life clings to every drop of water and every ray of sunlight. During the dry season, the earth cracks under the relentless sun, and the air shimmers with heat. Herds of wildebeest, zebras, and antelopes trek across the plains in search of fresh grass, constantly shadowed by predators that lie in wait. Every day here is a fight for survival. In this harsh wilderness, the lion rules as the supreme predator. Its strength and hunting skill make it the ultimate symbol of raw power. Yet standing in its path is a formidable rival, the African buffalo, a towering creature of muscle and horn, whose courage and loyalty to the herd challenge even the king of beasts. When these titans meet, the savanna holds its breath. It is a clash of strength versus endurance, cunning against brute force, a primal struggle in which only one can emerge victorious under the blazing Serengeti sun. Here, every breath carries the taste of life and death. Each day is a challenge, where the line between survival and peril is measured in heartbeats. Amid this harsh and untamed landscape stands a creature commanding respect even from the kings of the savanna, the African buffalo. An adult buffalo boasts an imposing frame, weighing nearly a ton, stretching over 3 meters in length, and standing around 1.5 meters tall at the shoulder. Muscles ripple beneath its glossy black hide, giving it the appearance of a living block of steel. Its massive, curved horns meet in a thick, bony shield across the forehead, forming a natural armor capable of withstanding a lion's claws. This formidable weapon serves both offense and defense, making the buffalo an unstoppable warrior of the plains. The wild buffalo is a moving fortress. It is no wonder it is called the Black Death, a stern warning to any predator daring enough to challenge it. Yet the true power lies not only in size, but in the herd instinct. Hundreds, even thousands, move as one, ready to face danger rather than flee. They guard their young as if protecting the very essence of life itself. In the natural order, Buffalo are prey, yet on the Serengeti they are horned warriors that fight relentlessly. In the distance, silhouettes of hunters appear. A lioness crouches silently, eyes fixed on a lone buffalo. She strikes with deadly precision, seemingly assured of her meals. But suddenly, the entire herd charges in unison. Horns clash with fury, forcing the predator to retreat. Today, the lioness may have to wait for another chance. The buffalo's strength is not in a single individual, but in the unity of the herd. Together, they form a living wall that can make even the bravest lion hesitate. Yet beneath this armor lies vulnerability, the beginning of life. A female carries her calf for nearly 11 months, giving birth to a single young one. From the moment it enters the world, the calf faces an unforgiving environment. Within hours of birth, it must stand, run, and stay close to the herd. In the Serengeti, slowness is a death sentence. The breeding season coincides with the rains and abundance of food, and it is also the time when males engage in brutal duels for mating rights. These battles are the ultimate test of strength and stamina, and only the most powerful pass on their lineage. The first steps of the calves make them prime targets for predators. Time moves on. A new day dawns over the plains. The Serengeti sun rises high and fierce. From the tall grass, a golden shadow approaches silently. Each step of the lion pride sinks into the earth without a sound. Their eyes lock onto a calf that has strayed from the safety of the herd. A predator never forgets a missed opportunity. Yet this time, the buffalo are different. The entire herd moves as one, surrounding the hunters with a unified front. Suddenly, they charge in succession. The mother buffalo fights desperately, but her strength alone cannot withstand the coordinated assault and strategic encirclement of the group. The young calf falls. This time, the lions claim victory. The tragic scene ends with the mother defeated. Unity alone could not save her offspring. The lions demonstrate the lethal efficiency of never missing a second chance, a decisive triumph, affirming their dominance as the Serengeti's ultimate predator. After the hunt, calm gradually returns to the plains. In the sparse shade, the lions rest. Cubs begin to play, tumbling over one another and playfully biting their mother's tail. Their innocent eyes shine against a land painted with the colors of life and death, a fleeting moment of tenderness in a realm ruled by relentless survival. The lion, emblem of strength and authority, the mâle possesses a solid statois muscular body stretching over 2 meters in length. The thick mane covering a male's neck gives him the appearance of a proud warrior of the Savanna. With sharp fangs, precise leaps, and astonishing power, lions can bring down prey far larger than themselves. But the true secret to their success lies not in individual strength, but in the cooperation of the pride. Lionesses are patient hunters. Males serve as guardians and dominants, reinforcing a near impenetrable circle. And like the buffalo, their lives revolve around other battles, fierce contests for the right to reproduce. An adult male, mane rippling in the scorching wind, moves forward with unwavering confidence. An intruder has arrived. Amid the sun-scorched grass, the males watch silently. Deep roars tear through the air, eyes locked in fierce confrontation. Then they charge. The victor rises over the savannah, roaring in power to claim his position. Only the strongest are worthy of continuing their lineage and protecting the legacy of the pride. From these brutal wars emerges, once again, the mating season. After a gestation of nearly 4 months, the lioness will bring new cubs into the world. Beyond the loud, brutal confrontations of the Serengeti, there exists another form of survival unfolding in near-perfect silence. The leopard. Unlike lions, these solitary predators live mostly alone, coming together only during mating season when males and females form a temporary bond. After a gestation of roughly 3 months, the female gives birth to 2 or 3 cubs. The burden of raising them falls entirely on her shoulders. She must hunt, feed her young, and shield them from the countless dangers lurking in the wild. With a muscular body stretching almost 2 meters long, including its long tail used for balance, the leopard is a master of agility. Its golden coat, dotted with black rosettes, allows it to vanish within tall grass. Powerful jaws, precise leaps, and an innate climbing ability make it a silent yet formidable hunter, preying on small antelopes, monkeys, and even birds. Leopards often drag their kills high into the trees to keep them safe from other carnivores, an extraordinary skill no other big predator possesses. They dominate not through brute force but by stealth. Blending with the environment using the natural camouflage of their fur. Most hunts occur at dusk or under the cover of darkness, when their form becomes nearly invisible. Patience is the leopard's deadliest weapon. It can stalk a target for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Yet solitude comes at a cost. Leopard cubs are incredibly vulnerable. Only about half survive, as even a single mistake can mean death. Unlike lions who rely on group strength, the leopard walks a solitary path. This independence demands constant vigilance. In these lands, danger is never far away. After a long day of careful stalking, the leopard finally brings down a small antelope. This hard-earned meal is a quiet triumph, a reward for hours of patience under the vast Serengeti sky. In the distance, an eerie laughter echoes. Though their appearance may seem scruffy, hyenas are true masters of survival. They live in a matriarchal society where the largest, most dominant females hold complete control over the clan. Hyenas are far more than mere scavengers, as many believe. Up to 70% of their diet comes from active hunting. With their highly coordinated tactics and incredibly powerful jaws, the strongest among all land predators, they can crush massive bones and extract every scrap of meat. A threat approached, eyes gleaming in the twilight. Its target was clear, the prey recently claimed by the leopard. The feline growled, holding its fury in check. Facing them on the ground would be far too risky. For a moment, it seemed the meal might be lost. But there was only one way to ensure it remained safe. Suddenly, the leopard sprang into action. With a swift, practiced motion, it dragged its prey high into a tree beyond the reach of its rivals. The feast was once again secure. Yet the hyenas did not relent. They lingered below, prowling in the shadows, ever patient. In the Serengeti, even after a victory, no predator can rest completely. When the hyenas and leopards eventually departed, the ground remained scattered with the remnants of life just ended. It was a signal for the ultimate cleaners of the Serengeti. From above, dark shapes began to wheel in the sky. The heavy beating of wings broke the silence. The vultures. They do not hunt, but they form the final link in the relentless cycle of the Serengeti. Their role is to cleanse the battlefield after every deadly encounter. With wingspans reaching up to 3 meters and strong, resilient bodies, vultures can glide for hours on air currents with minimal effort. Their sharp eyesight allows them to detect carcasses or signs of predation from dozens of kilometers away. Unlike lions or leopards, vultures do not chase prey. They wait. Circling patiently, they hover until the roars fade or the scent of death fills the air. At the slightest signal, flocks of dozens, even hundreds, transform the sky into a storm of black wings. Though the ensuing feast may seem chaotic, it follows an invisible order. Each group waits its turn, gradually approaching until only white bones remain on the earth. Vultures often arrive once the great predators have retreated, or sometimes even while the battle is still raging. In the Serengeti, vultures serve as nature's silent cleaners. They remove the remnants of life, prevent the spread of disease, and restore balance to the vast plains. On this battlefield between life and death, vultures are not warriors, they are witnesses to the value that even death holds in sustaining the eternal cycle of existence. In this harsh and majestic land, where every breath carries the scent of life and death, life does more than survive, it emerges stronger after every trial. Each species demonstrates its courage in its own way through strength, unity, speed, or patience. It is this diversity of survival strategies, woven into the relentless cycle of life and death, that has shaped the enigmatic Serengeti, a timeless symbol of the wild, untamed natural world. And you, what do you think? Which animal do you believe has the smartest survival strategy in the Serengeti? Share your thoughts in the comments. We love reading your ideas. If this journey into the wild heart of Africa captivated you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Wild Call Nature. Under the blazing sunset of the Serengeti, an eternal struggle for survival unfolds. In the shadows and dust, A young hyena named Ka hid in a crevice, watching as a pride of lions tore her mother apart with roars and slashes. From that moment, darkness became her first companion. Across these vast plains where every shaft of sunlight signals danger and every shadow may conceal a hunt, Ka now moves silently. She has no clan, no territory. She embodies both solitude and a near impossible resilience. Contrary to popular belief, the spotted hyena, recognized by its distinctive laugh, is among the most social predators in the wild. It is not just a scavenger. Over 70% of its food comes from its own hunts. In their matriarchal society, females are strong, decisive, and at times ruthless. Ka once belonged to one of these clans. But when the old leader faded and power shifted, she was young, allyless, and motherless. She became an outcast, expelled as if she had never existed, forced to face the open savanna alone, a place where survival is anything but guaranteed. Alone, she traversed lands dominated by her greatest enemy, lions. In the dry grasslands, she avoided ferocious African wild dogs, concealed herself from hunting eagles, and followed the flight paths of vultures to scavenge leftovers. Her acute sense of smell, one of her species' greatest gifts, allowed her to detect prey from miles away. Yet survival alone was not enough. She sought purpose. One day, after a violent clash between lions and another hyena clan, Ka stumbled upon something unexpected, a group of trembling, exhausted, orphaned pups. They were too small to fend for themselves, hungry, but still unafraid. For a moment, her instincts wavered between attack or protection. Then she slowed, emitted a low growl, and did not strike. She guided them away from the battlefield, like an improvised mother born from fire and death. Thus began an unusual alliance, a banished female and a handful of orphaned cubs. Ka trained them as if they were her own. She taught them to stalk silently under the cover of night when hyenas are most active thanks to their keen vision, and to use their laugh, a sound audible up to 5 kilometers, not only for communication but to command respect and mark territory. Soon, Ka's steady and composed presence began to send a silent message across the Serengeti. A new clan was rising. The scent of territory was unmistakable. The laughs that once echoed cries for help now resonated as the sound of a new power emerging. Over time, other young hyenas rejected by their own clans for weakness or losing in power struggles began to join her. Each carried its own scars, visible or hidden. But under Ka's watchful eye, they were no longer outcasts. They became part of something greater. Twilight descended. The air still radiated the heat of the dying day. The tall grass whispered with the wind. A group of hyenas, led by Ka, slipped silently through the undergrowth, eyes locked on their target, a herd of Cape buffalo moving steadily. Among them, a small calf had strayed from the rhythm of the group. The hunt had begun. The hyenas launched their attack, scattering the buffalo herd. Roars, the thunder of hooves striking the earth, and the frantic cries of the calves filled the air like a wild symphony. Then came the silence, not one of calm, but of order, the echo of nature that never stops. But surprises were far from over. Soon, another sound cut through the air, the beating of wings descending from the sky. Bearded vultures and white-backed vultures began circling before swooping down. Some hyenas stepped back, allowing the scavengers to feed on the remains rather than confront them. At the base of the carcass, lines of African soldier ants advanced with relentless discipline, devouring every fragment left behind. This was no longer a simple struggle for food. It had become a fleeting community, a momentary cycle of life in which the death of one creature nourished an entire ecosystem, from the dominant hyenas to the vultures patrolling the skies, to the tiny armies of ants working the earth. Amid this scene, Ka remained still at the edge, watching silently with the gaze of a leader, a guardian of the delicate balance between predators, scavengers, and the relentless renewal of life. From the edge of the hunting ground, a small figure emerged from the heat haze. Sleek, alert, moving with the lightness of smoke, it was a black-backed jackal, a species renowned for cunning, independence, and a remarkable ability to coexist with much larger predators. But what drew immediate attention were the two trembling pups at its feet. Lean and exhausted, it was clear that the mother and her pups were fleeing from something far more dangerous than hunger. Ka turned her head. Her eyes met those of the jackal. There was no submission, no plea, only a silent understanding across species. I have nowhere else to go. With the new season approaching, the jackal took a few careful steps forward, slow but fearless. The remaining hyenas watched in complete silence. No one challenged her. No one drove her away. In the society Ka had built, any outsider bold enough to approach earned a chance. The sun rose over the Serengeti horizon, painting the tall grasses gold and scattering the last chill of night. The wind shifted, carrying the scents of damp earth, dry dust, and the promise of a fresh day. As Ka and her clan rested among the scattered mounds of the open woodland, elsewhere in the wild, a new predator awakened. In the distance, the moonlight glided across the dew-covered grass. At the edge of a low bush, a caracal crouched, perfectly still, waiting for the precise moment. Its yellow eyes glimmered in the moonlight, black-tipped ears erect like antennas, attuned to the slightest sound. Just a few meters away, a gray-headed pheasant pecked at the ground, oblivious to the danger. In an instant, the caracal sprang forward, a streak of red against the dark. Swift, precise, lethal. With a single bite to the neck, the prey's life ended. Silently, the caracal turned. The bird clutched between her jaws, ready to carry her prize back to the den. But then another sound shattered the stillness. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a mouse. It was a deep, resonant, unmistakable laugh, the call of the hyenas. From the bushes on the opposite side, Ka appeared, her cold, steady eyes fixed on the caracal and the prize at its feet. Behind her, two young hyenas stepped forward with firm, silent strides, no growls, no threats, none were needed. The balance of power had already been determined. The caracal let out a soft growl and stepped back. A solitary hunter, swift and fierce, yet far from naive. It faced three hyenas, Ka among them, and immediately recognized the overwhelming difference in strength. Silently, it released the pheasant. Its eyes flashed with silent frustration. Ka did not strike. She simply lowered her head, seized the prey, and walked away without a backward glance. The caracal remained alone in the shadows, among the remnants of its lost hunt. It did not leave immediately. It lingered for a moment longer, as if committing the scene to memory or perhaps waiting for something. In the savannah, the hunter does not always claim the meal. With one final glance into the distance, the caracal vanished into the windswept grass, its shadow dissolving into the night. The Serengeti sky still shimmered with the silver glow of the moon, as if bearing witness to an unwritten law here. There is no justice, only strength, and the patience to seize the right moment. High above, perched among the extended branches of acacias rising over the vast grassland, another pair of eyes watched intently. It was the martial eagle Polymatus bellicosus, Africa's largest raptor. Its sharp gaze swept the savanna, detecting the slightest movement, a scurrying mouse, a slithering snake, or a young antelope straying from the herd. With nearly a 2-meter wingspan, powerful muscles, and talons capable of taking down a baboon, the martial eagle ruled the skies, where no land predator dared challenge its reign. That evening, however, the ruler of the air focused on smaller prey. Its attention shifted south, where a tiny group of meerkats began their day beneath the thorny shrubs. One stood tall atop the highest mound, scanning the horizon with unwavering vigilance, while the others spread out, digging for larvae, worms, and tiny lizards. Occasionally, a clumsy youngster stumbled by, its back covered in mismatched fur. The martial eagle lowered its head, tracking each movement with lethal precision. To its eyes, a young, plump, and distracted meerkat was the perfect target. But the meerkats were far from naive. Whenever a shadow passed overhead, the sentinel let out a sharp, piercing chirp, like a blade slicing the air. Instantly, the entire colony froze, ears perked, then vanished into the burrows as if water seeping into sand. The eagle hesitated. It did not strike, not because it lacked the power, but because it knew the moment was not yet right. It hovered at a distance, motionless, a silent specter drifting among the clouds. Minutes later, the meerkats began emerging from their tunnels once more. The air filled again with tiny sounds, claws scratching the earth, insects snapping underfoot, brief murmurs exchanged between them. Yet their ears remained alert, and their eyes never left the sky. In the Serengeti, safety is never guaranteed. It is only a fleeting moment of respite before nature claims its turn again. The sun slowly sinks over the endless plains, painting the golden grass and sky with shades of red. In this vast ecosystem, life unfolds in a constant cycle of struggle and adaptation, where every creature, from the stealthiest predator to the nimblest prey, plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of the savanna. During the day, the lion reigns supreme, defending its territory and safeguarding its pride with strength and strategy. The cunning hyenas seek opportunities in the shadows and silence, while the majestic martial eagle patrols the skies, hunting with deadly precision. Each encounter is a reflection of the eternal dance of life and death, a relentless struggle where only the most adaptable survive and thrive. Beyond the raw power of nature, human action plays a crucial role. Rangers, scientists, and local communities work tirelessly to protect wildlife and their habitats, restore ecosystems, and educate about the importance of biodiversity. Every effort reminds us that caring for nature is caring for life, and that the survival of these magnificent animals also depends on our awareness and respect. If this journey into the wild heart of the Serengeti has inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, Wild Call TV. Join us on future adventures as we continue to explore, admire, and protect the secrets of nature together. The land splits into long fractures that cut across the plain like ancient scars. A heavy veil of dust drifts close to the ground, stretching toward the horizon. Above, thin clouds scatter, allowing sunlight to pour through and strike the hardened surface below. There is no flowing river here, yet the earth begins to tremble. Across the cracked crust, thousands of hooves strike in unison. With every step, dust erupts and spreads outward. The first animals move forward, and behind them the surge continues. Grasses bend in the direction of travel, carving a pathway that seems to have no end. The entire savanna moves to a single rhythm. From the open plains of the Serengeti to the gentle lowlands of the Masai Mara, the ground is no longer still. Herds of every size advance with the wind, guided by distant signs of rain. Each journey is part of a greater cycle, where survival depends on a migration timed with remarkable precision. Nothing in this ecosystem remains unchanged. It shifts with the seasons, with water, with the growth of grass, and with the passage of each herd. Every species plays a defined role, and every behavior helps sustain the pulse that keeps the plains alive. When one species begins to move, another immediately adjusts its course. As grass is grazed down to the soil, waste returns vital nutrients to the ground. When prey falls, decomposers are already in place. Together, the Serengeti Masai Mara region functions as one of East Africa's central biological engines. Energy is generated the moment hooves strike the earth and is carried onward through every mouthful of grass, every chase, and every fallen body. Nothing in this system exists without purpose. Each element matters only when it flows with the natural rhythm. Across these untamed grasslands, the Great Migration draws all forms of life into a powerful predatory cycle that never truly pauses. Fresh shoots blanket the land after recent rains, their narrow leaves bent in unison by the wind. On the open plains, newborn calves stumble away from the birthing grounds and merge into the moving mass of adults, advancing without hesitation. They do not wait for strength to build. Motion begins at once. As the rainy season reaches the southern edge of the Serengeti, wildebeest herds leave their calving areas. The first groups cross the damp earth, trampling young growth and etching their path across the plain. The movement does not break. Smaller groups merge into larger bodies as herds from different directions converge along shared corridors. Routes may shift, but the overall direction remains unchanged. The pace is steady and relentless. Under thousands of hooves, the ground yields, forming deep impressions. Grass is pressed flat. Droppings fall in an unbroken pattern. The air grows heavy with the scent of bodies, waste, and churned soil. Every footprint marks the passage of a living current sweeping across the savanna. New life quickly appears in its wake. Dung beetles burrow beneath fresh mounds. Low-flying birds follow closely, and weaker wildebeest begin to lag behind. Their presence draws scavengers and predators waiting along the edges. The migration cuts through the grasslands, opening pathways that other species soon follow. Tall grasses vanish, old roots are broken, and the soil is loosened by hooves and organic matter. Each area they cross becomes a zone of biological renewal after the dry season. Every wildebeest plays a direct role while alive. They deposit nutrients and chemical traces. In death, their bodies become centers of decomposition. Birds, insects, and microbes arrive in layers. There is no need to search. Food is already available for scavengers. There is no delay. Beetles immediately begin their work. There is no isolation. Predators simply watch and wait for those that slip behind the flow. All life benefits from this concentrated movement. Wildebeest do not create the ecosystem, but they set it in motion. Microbial communities in the soil awaken as organic matter surges through the system. Other species begin their own journeys as the wild pulse passes. This ecosystem does not operate by chance. It responds precisely to the signals released by the migration. As the wildebeest press forward, the grazing zones along their migratory corridor are reshaped in real time. Life concentrates along their path, and every place they touch becomes a link between multiple biological layers. No single species clears the way alone. No cycle begins without a trigger. Reproduction follows the rhythm of the rains while the soil still holds moisture. New life is born. The moment the calves are able to stand, the herd moves on again. This tight synchronization offers protection from immediate predators, but it also sends powerful signals through the entire system. The landscape left behind changes rapidly. Grass sprouts where it was once trampled. Bacteria break down organic remains, and moisture is retained near the surface thanks to the fresh input of nutrients. For a time, each area crossed by the herd becomes a center of biological renewal. Other grazers arrive later, taking advantage of what remains. Older vegetation has already been consumed, allowing shorter, younger grasses to flourish. There is no direct competition. Many species rely on the wildebeest's passage as a natural process of clearing and renewal. The soil stays loose, roots spread more easily, and conditions align for the next cycle. The moving mass of wildebeest also reshapes the strategies of predators. Hunters must adjust their breeding seasons, ambush tactics, and territories according to the herd's pace and direction. Scavenging birds track the places where carcasses appear. Vultures, crows, and wild dogs gather around zones marked by decay. The ecosystem keeps time like a living structure. Rain may set the stage, but the wildebeest herd is the first mechanism to turn. single animal chooses the route, yet together they generate enough momentum to drive the entire system. On the living map of the region, the wildebeest migration acts like a heartbeat. Each year, that pulse returns. From the southern calving grounds to the northern grasslands, every stretch of land responds in a predictable sequence. Other species do not exist because of the wildebeest alone, but the functioning of the system begins with their passage. Nothing in the herd's behavior happens in isolation. Every hoof that strikes the ground sets change in motion. The land shifts, vegetation is redistributed, and new life emerges. This is why wildebeest signal the beginning of the life cycle in East Africa, not because they are the strongest or the fastest, but because their first step sets the entire ecosystem in motion. Each year, when the first rains return and soften the land, a single hoof meets the ground once more. From that moment of contact, the cycle of life begins again. Short grasses spread across the damp soil at dawn. The air is still. At the edge of a shallow hollow, a pride of lions lies pressed low, concealed among scattered shrubs. Early light washes over their backs, blending with earth darkened by heat. In the distance, a wildebeest herd advances. The groups stretch into loose lines, shifting direction as they follow the low ground. Gaps begin to open between individuals. Young calves drift toward the edges, and the lions hold their ground, using the contours of the land, moving in wide, deliberate arcs. Each hunter keeps a precise distance. Angles of approach tighten from multiple sides. There is no warning, no prolonged chase. As the herd crosses the depression, the moment unfolds. One animal becomes separated. Its escape route narrows. An open patch of ground becomes the point where motion ends. The prey falls, and the grass is pressed flat beneath it. The lions spread out around the body. One secures the kill, while the others melt back into cover. The landscape settles into silence. Wind moves on. There is no struggle, no further disturbance. Hoofprints remain etched into the loosened soil. The scent of blood begins to drift close to the ground. This hunt is driven by precision, not speed. Lions do not rely on long chases. They succeed through positioning, spacing, and a deep understanding of herd movement. Each individual plays a role. When the distance closes, force is applied together. Often, prey is taken in moments of imbalance, too far from protection and too close to avoid the closing circle. The outcome is shaped by natural behavior, not by chance or error. Once selected, the prey cannot recover its position. High above, scavenging birds sense the warmth of the body and begin to circle at altitude. On the ground, beetles detect the organic scent released into the air. Decomposers arrive even before the lions leave the site. Within hours, the soil around the carcass darkens, their fluids seep into the base of the grasses. Roots draw in the nutrients. Soil bacteria cling to what remains. New shoots begin to rise, guided by heat, moisture, and nitrogen. By afternoon, the pride rests beneath low trees stretched along the brush. Around them, the grass stands still once more. no major movement follows. The marks of their paws extend across the softened paths and fade at the edge of the plain. The morning hunt leaves no sound behind, but the land retains its evidence-absorbed fluids, embedded bones, and microbial changes already underway. Short grass spreads evenly across the open landscape, carrying forward the quiet imprint of what has passed. The ground is dry and fragile. Beneath low shrubs pressed close to the earth, a leopard moves without sound through narrow gaps. Its body stays flattened against the soil, detached from any motion above. The wind shifts again and again, pushing patches of grass in different directions. Nothing breaks the boundary of dust and shadow. The distance closes steadily, without disturbing the scene. Ahead, a group of Thompson's gazelles feeds, spaced in loose, even lines. Younger animals linger toward the outer edges, drifting with the breeze. Between hunter and herd, there is no cover, only open, arid ground. The leopard maintains a measured pace, making no sudden adjustments and never rushing the moment. At a workable range, it pauses beside a small rise. Its body folds into the edge of shade. The landscape holds its breath. When a leopard hunts on open plains, conditions must align gentle undulations in the land, evenly scattered shrubs, and prey that remains spread out rather than tightly grouped. Hunting alone leaves no margin for recovery once detected. A single misstep sharply reduces the chance of success. There is no partner to disrupt the herd, no coordinated retreat. Every phase depends on closing the gap with absolute precision. If that limit is crossed, the prey reacts and control is lost. The leopard is not built for endurance across open ground. Its strength lies in short bursts of speed. Each chase unfolds over a brief distance. If the line breaks or the gazelle responds instantly, The attempt fails, and failure is more common than success. Not due to a lack of skill, but because the leopard's hunting space is shaped by countless variables: wind direction, sun angle, grass height, and prey distribution. Even so, its presence alone alters gazelle behavior. Small herds rarely remain spread out in exposed areas. Youngsters draw closer to their mothers. Feeding pauses. Groups quicken their pace when crossing zones with limited visibility. A successful kill is not required to leave an effect. The mere appearance of a leopard reshapes herd formation and rest patterns. Grazing cycles shift, reducing pressure on a single spot and spreading vegetation used more evenly across the region. Leopards do not challenge lions or hyenas through open conflict. Their solitary approach adds a second layer of influence. They avoid direct competition, yet they shape how prey occupies the landscape. No herd stays concentrated for long. No herbivore holds prolonged control over the plains. This irregular presence forces prey to disperse in search of lower risk. No group maintains the same structure long enough to damage grass growth. No area is stripped bare. The pressure is subtle but constant. A baseline level of alertness persists, even without active hunts. The leopard favors isolation and leaves little trace. It draws no gatherings of scavengers. Small prey is consumed quickly, leaving minimal remains and little scent to attract larger species. By selecting smaller animals, the leopard limits interference and avoids attention. Its role rarely sparks conflict within the predator network. As evening approaches, it withdraws quietly from the edge of the plain. Across the Grumeti Plains, the ground bears fine cracks left by a brief dry spell. Fresh grass has emerged, though it has not yet grown dense. Moving through the open landscape, a herd of zebras advances in a broad, organized line. Their passage raises little dust. The great wildebeest herds are still distant, not yet reaching this transitional zone. Striped bodies glide across the plain, trimming the grass as they head east and northeast. Shadows stretch over the pale soil. Larger individuals hold a steady pace, while smaller groups remain along the edges. The leading position shifts constantly. Their route is traced as a lighter band across the land. Grass bends and flattens into a gentle arc. Zebras typically travel ahead of the main migratory waves. They enter areas still untouched by hooves, following paths of their own. No collective signal is required. As soon as rainfall is sufficient to lift the grass slightly, the herd begins to move. Their journey remains local, yet it consistently precedes the peak of migration. This timing introduces a different rhythm into the system. Zebras do not wait for grass to reach its most tender stage. They arrive early, feeding on the upper portions of the stems and leaving the lower layers undisturbed. When other grazers follow later, the grass has already been trimmed closer to the ground, better suited to their feeding styles. As the herd crosses the region, it leaves a clear grazing line shaped by the direction of the wind. Vegetation is cut evenly. Low shrubs lose much of their cover, allowing more sunlight to reach the soil. The landscape becomes brighter and more open. Understory plants begin to reorganize in response to the new structure. Throughout their movement, zebras do not maintain rigid formations. They travel in spaced groups, widening the grazing corridor. At shallow water sources, the herd breaks into smaller units, each using different patches of vegetation depending on the terrain. This division creates a layered effect. Every cleared section becomes accessible to other life forms. From insects and ground birds to small herbivores, no single area remains crowded for long. The remaining biological layers are reshaped evenly across the plain. Zebras do not graze down to the roots. They affect only the upper growth, preserving the base. This residual layer becomes ideal for low-grazing species such as gazelles, warthogs, and smaller trailing groups of wildebeest. By moving first, zebras slow the intensity of impact caused by the larger herds that arrive later. Their breeding is not concentrated in one mass, allowing them to split freely into smaller groups. These units move independently without disrupting the broader migratory cycle. Each advances at its own pace, giving grasslands time to recover. No area becomes a lasting bottleneck within the system. When predators draw near, zebras do not respond by tightening into a dense mass. Instead, they fan out across open ground, breaking formation rather than compressing it. This behavior disrupts hunting strategies that rely on confusion within tight groups. By spreading apart, the pressure of pursuit is diluted, increasing escape opportunities for other species sharing the landscape. The tracks zebras leave behind are shallow yet continuous. Their droppings fall widely spaced instead of accumulating in heavy clusters. This even distribution enriches the soil surface, helping the grass retain moisture at its base. From these scattered nutrients, soil bacteria begin to expand. Dung beetles soon arrive, drawn by scent, turning and loosening the earth so new roots can take hold. From an ecological standpoint, zebras create a horizontal flow of biological movement. Their impact lacks the vertical force of wildebeest hooves or the concentrated pressure exerted by buffalo. But this steady passage reduces direct stress on the land. the ground absorbs a lighter, prolonged influence that is spread evenly across the plains. Predators adjust their routines to follow zebra movements, increasing the chances of successful ambushes. Lions, hyenas, and wild dogs position themselves in areas not yet reshaped by massive herds. Before the main migration arrives, regions such as grumeti function as independent hunting grounds. As a result, predation pressure is distributed more evenly over time. Zebras do not impose an intense biological load, but they help disperse its effects. The system absorbs this energy at multiple points. The soil is not disturbed for extended periods. Roots retain part of their protective layer, and recovery cycles resume more quickly after each change. During transitional seasons, if only the Great Migration crossed these plains, the land would bear the full force in a very short window. The soil would not have time to recover. Microorganisms would also struggle to multiply fast enough. Grass would be torn out by the roots rather than simply trimmed. Without zebra herds, the migratory corridor would lose its first layer of distribution. Predator activity would become compressed into fewer moments, and restoration cycles would lack a buffer. The grassland would shift in color more rapidly, exposing roots too early. The ecosystem would lose its characteristic resilience, becoming a narrow and fragile passage across open terrain. Zebras leave no dramatic aftermath, yet each passing group clears the surface, opens sight lines, and allows wind to move freely for a brief time. Every quiet wave of migration strengthens the system. It is this staggered, subtle rhythm that prevents the entire migratory movement from collapsing into a single, overwhelming surge. Across the open grassland, a narrow path cuts through the plain. Dust lifts lightly along a zigzag line, while the wind slips through mid-height grasses, carrying traces of movement that have not yet faded. Thompson's gazelles appear in small, scattered clusters, each animal keeping a carefully measured distance, guided by finely tuned instinct. On bare ground, there are no obstacles and no tall cover. Every movement is swift, marked by sudden turns that shorten the time spent within a predator's line of sight. When danger emerges on the horizon, the gazelles spring away on diagonal paths. Their escape routes curve unpredictably, forming a web of motion that is nearly impossible to read. Within moments, the group's structure loosens under outward pressure, then reforms once the threat passes. Calving takes place in isolated spots across the dry plain. The gazelles do not gather, nor do they remain in one place. Each female selects her own patch of short grass and moves at her own pace. As soon as the young can stand, the group shifts again, leaving no clear traces and no prolonged pauses. This scattered strategy prevents gazelles from becoming easy targets. Lions, hyenas, and leopards usually succeed only when an individual strays too far from the group's flow. Most maintain a steady rhythm, avoiding major breaks in formation. Speed aids their escape, but it is their unpredictable direction that most often disrupts an ambush. In such an exposed landscape, there is no true shelter. Gazelles turn openness itself into a defense. The clearer the space, the lower the risk. During the peak of the dry season, they make up much of the remaining biomass, while larger herds like wildebeest and zebras have already moved on. Gazelles continue to travel steadily across the plains. They graze close to the ground, feeding on shoots that have not been trampled. Their constant motion prevents the grass from losing its color entirely. Each passage attracts small scavengers, field insects, and ground-dwelling birds. Their hooves leave shallow impressions that hold moisture just long enough for new growth to emerge. Areas crossed by gazelles often recover faster than untouched ground. Their ability to leave sensitive spots and return from different directions sustains a continuous rhythm of life. No species can survive by remaining fixed in one pattern here. Persistence depends on movement without permanent roots. Gazelle groups connect scattered pockets of life into a lasting biological flow. They serve as a buffer between top predators and lower levels of the food web. Without triggering population surges, they help maintain surface stability. When gazelles vanish from a region, the middle layer of prey collapses, forcing predators to shift abruptly and disrupting the natural order. The ecosystem loses its balancing force. Within the vast movement of the Serengeti Mara, gazelles act like a seam between ecological layers, thin yet vital. Each time they skim the ground in flight, they leave a subtle imprint. From that imprint, the rhythm of life holds its balance. After a night of rain, the ground remains damp, and a low mist still clings to the grass. From a shallow hollow at the edge of the plain rises a sour scent, the unmistakable sign of old flesh. Lying on its side is a carcass, the hide torn open in a long, ragged seam. Spotted hyenas approach from different points on the horizon. Within the group, order is precise. Each animal takes a position around the body without chaos or struggle. Powerful jaws tear effortlessly through tissue, stripping away large sections of meat and exposing bare bone. Slowly, the carcass is reduced and scattered by wind and movement. As the main structure collapses, younger hyenas move in from the edges. Their teeth are not searching for soft flesh. They lock into joints, separate limbs, and remove the final fragments clinging to bone. Only dry soil adheres to the exposed marrow. Everything else is broken down into small, disappearing pieces. Hyenas operate as a highly organized unit. Dominant individuals choose moments to hunt when conditions favor them. It is not an ending for predators or prey, but for the entire cycle that begins again where flesh breaks down. No presence interrupts and regulates the system as effectively as the hyena. They enter hunting grounds, tear flesh from powerful animals, and consume what remains. When they leave, the land is clean. No odor, no residue, no biological risk. On the living map of the Savanna, where every creature leaves behind waste, only the hyena turns those remnants into a starting point. No other animal consumes what is left at the very end. When all have moved on, only dust remains, and the distant echo of the hyena, marking clearly that the cycle is complete and the ground is ready to begin again. Across the vast African plains, the great migrations reveal survival in its purest form. Every crossing, every shift in direction, every split-second choice can determine who endures and who falls behind. Danger is ever-present unseen predators, deceptive rivers, and a harsh landscape that tests even the strongest bodies and instincts. Yet despite these risks, millions of animals press forward, driven by an ancient impulse to endure, adapt, and keep moving. In this endless journey, unity becomes strength, resolve becomes protection, and survival stands as the sole objective. With this, we conclude our exploration of one of the most powerful and extraordinary spectacles in the natural world.